How you doing today? Welcome to my photography live stream where today typically we go do deal shopping and look for deals on photography gear and accessories. And then also it's an open Q&A. As always, I'd like you guys to drive the conversation. But I did find some deals and we're sort of in that cycle before any big sales come, but uh, meaning, like, excuse me. Like Black Friday is a big one, right? So we're a little bit ahead of the curve here. But a lot of times I found that deals that you can get in between these big sale days, spring sale, summer sale, that they have, Prime Days, etc. There's always good deals to be had in between, but they're just not quite as widespread as they would be on like a Black Friday, for example. So those are the kind of things I look for, and I try to look for bargains and uh, entry level type uh, gear. So, stuff that you can try out and see if you are going to use that type of a gear and accessory. Like a filter is a good example. Excuse me, because there are very expensive filters, 100, $200, and then there's like these $10 to $25 filters, and some of them are better than others at the low end. But nothing's going to compare to, say, like $100 filter. However, it gives you a chance to try the filter out, a comparable filter like a polarizer, and see if you like it or not, and if it's something that you really want to do, or something you're going to use on a regular basis. Uh, and filters I emphasize a lot because I do use those on a regular basis. Polarizers, ND filters, and more recently mist filters for doing portraits and things. And another common accessory that we don't think about, but we need as photographers are like power supplies, USB-C power strips, and batteries, um, like portable power banks that you can bring power with you, and uh, and then bags and straps and things like that. And again, these are things that, particularly with, like messenger bags, backpacks, and things, you can get these for like between actually $10 and $50, right in that range, between messenger bags and backpacks that you can use for a couple of years, 3 years. If they wear out, you just buy another one. Or if it's in your budget, you can go ahead and buy the $200, $300 bag. Uh, but I'm kind of in that space where I don't always want to spend a lot of money on something, when something much more affordable will work just as well for me. Uh, so that said, it's good to see everyone. I see the great Vanzini's here. AJ Cooper, good to see you. Erna, good to see you again. And Jeff Painter, always good to see you. Roger, Paul, Bert, you guys are all awesome and regulars to my channel here. If there's anyone new here in the stream, let me know as well. It's always good to meet new people. As most of my viewers will tell you that I'm, pretty much laid back and down to earth when it comes to looking at gear in particular and photography in general. Uh, I'm not like a high-end photographer, but I do shoot professionally and I get jobs time to time. Just to make a few extra bucks, because like here on these shopping streams, and I guess might as well make the disclosure that I am an affiliate for Amazon, B&H, eBay, KEH, and probably some others. And so when I do recommend things, it's very likely I'll earn a commission if you purchase something using my affiliate links, which I do have down below to my deal page. It's just robtrek.com/deals. And if you click on that link and purchase something within 24 hours, I usually get a credit. It's, the affiliate system's not reliable. I've had many times where viewers have told me they bought something and then I never got the credit for it. And it's easy to track because I can see what was purchased, but I can also uh, and meaning I'll know if it was a high-end typically it's a high-end product that I miss out on. When people buy cameras, for example, it's like, sorry, I never got it. Uh, but it's no big deal. Most of the things I promote here or suggest on the stream are $10 items, $5, $20, sometimes 50, and I make like 50 cents. So it's not about earning the commissions necessarily. It's about trying to find you guys some good deals and save you some money, right? And that's kind of the primary thrust of what I do here is to help beginning photographers and pros alike to not spend more than you really have to on things that you may not use or use much. But it's nice to have sort of in your toolbox. So I did find some things that I think, like I said, we're kind of in this rotation of where some things go on sale and then they're off sale, then other things go on sale, unlike a Black Friday where everything is on sale, right? And a lot of times you can get a better deal on the off special days than you do on the special days. So what I found was a lot of times they raise the price, uh, the month before or a few months before, and it stays at this level. And then on Black Friday, it drops down. And it looks like it's a better deal than it was maybe earlier. So, for example, I saw a power bank that was selling for, it retails for like $169 and went on sale for $71. And then it went back up to $125. Then on Black Friday, it retailed for like $200. And then they said 50% off. So it was now $100, right? So it looks like a good deal, 50% off. But then, if you were paying attention, like I do these streams every week, I'm like, well, if you'd have bought it a few months back when I told you about it, you could have got it for $71. Um, it doesn't happen so much with the major brands, but a lot of these off brands that I've bought and purchased myself, I can I can tell you that's the case. The prices go up and the retail price goes up and down, so they can make the percentages look better. Another thing I noticed was that people are not clicking on the coupon links. There a lot of times, and I'll show some today. There's an extra little checkbox where you can save another 10%, $5, or 20%. So it'll say, okay, this product is now 20% off, but then there's a coupon for another $5. So don't forget to check that as well, especially on Amazon. They don't just automatically apply when you purchase the item. You have to check that box. That's how they get you, as they say, right? It's like buying coffee for breakfast. It's just $4 for a cup of coffee. Sometimes five at a breakfast place, not like at a Starbucks or something where everything is $5, $10. And it's like, okay, yeah, we'll sell you the Tuesday senior special for $7.99, but then it's like $4 for coffee. Oh, anyhow, I think I saw a question here. Uh, how do I pull up? I got to get my chat window up. I think I got everything working. Today I'm shooting on the EM5 Mark III and 17 millimeter 1.8, so the shot's a little bit tighter than I normally have. But I was using my wide angle lens uh yesterday. Well, what's today? Tuesday or Sunday. I had a photo job on Mother's Day and it was Mother's Day. So that's why I was for those of you that follow me regularly, I didn't get a chance to stream Sunday because the photo job and after that I had to go right to my mom's house, right? But I used my 7 to 14. This is the Panasonic 7 to 14. And I've talked about that lens before. It has some flaring issues, but I've pretty much learned to avoid them. Shooting, when I can avoid the flaring for the most part, by just changing the angle a little bit or pointing a little. And and also a lot of the flaring's super easy to fix in Photoshop now. It didn't used to be, but now Photoshop AI just takes it right out, and not mess up the background for the most part. So let me hit the chat section and we'll get right into the deals. God, I was talking for 10 minutes. It's no wonder nobody watches my streams. I said nothing for 10 minutes. I didn't show you one deal for 10 minutes, but let's see. Bert's here and AJ says just bought a Mamiya C330 with a 105 lens for 400 bucks Australian. Wow. 'Cause Australian, that's like maybe $10 in US, right? I know, probably like half though, like a couple $100 in US. That's amazing. That's an amazing. The Mamiya C330 though, that's a beast. Like you said, compared to M43, it's a brick. Compared to most cameras, it's a brick. It's heavy. It extends out. It's a dual lens, twin reflex. I think that's what it's called, twin reflex camera. And I've had opportunities to buy one here and there, but I've always passed on them because I got so many film cameras that I don't shoot with enough that um, if I got that, I would shoot with it even less than a 35 millimeter because the C330 uses 120 film. And I have one twin reflex camera that was gifted to me. And Semjon, good to see you. And James says, thoughts on telephoto zoom sales? Could this foretell the release of the new M's? You know, that's very common, right? They'll discount the current lineup and to make space for the new lineup or generate revenue to build up or ramp up funds to build the new one. And yeah, I think when you start to see heavy discounts on certain focal lengths, it may be a precursor to uh, a new lens, especially when there's already rumors out about another lens coming. So I think it's rumored maybe a 50 to 250 from OM Systems. So it's kind of a mid-range zoom. But we're seeing sales on super telephoto lenses mostly, right? The 100 to 400 because a new version came out. So now the version 1 is like 30% off or more, right? It's like less than $1,000 versus $1,500 for the new one. And yeah, that's clearly they're trying to push out the old stock and get the new one. And it went on sale. A lot of lenses went on sale, in Black Friday long before these other lenses were released. I'm surprised there's not bigger discounts on the primes though, like the 25 and the 17, the version ones. Because I guess because they're very good lenses and not everybody needs weather sealing. But as far as the super telephoto lenses, we're seeing those heavily discounted. I think that's because, like the 150 to 600, people really balked at the price. I mean, there were certainly some people that bought it pretty much straight out of the gate, and it wasn't a terrible deal relative to the OM system lineup because if you live in that bubble, the pricing kind of makes sense. But we don't live in a bubble, right? We have many other manufacturers, and it's clearly this lens was uh, all of the R&D has been done by Sigma, and they only had to tweak it to make it work with M43. And you can buy the Sigma versions for like a third less, like $1,000, between 1,000 and 1,500, right? So it was just and OM Systems was asking $2,800 for that lens. Like I said, in a bubble, that makes sense. But we don't live in a bubble. We live in a world where, you know, information online is just widespread, and everybody clearly saw that this was a Sigma lens or designed by Sigma. So short answer is yes. I do I do see a new lens coming soon based on the heavy discounts I'm seeing on the current lens lineup, including the 150 to 600. And Wayne, okay, you got to go to work. Okay, good to see you, Wayne. Thanks for stopping in. There's a small Domkey bag at the antique mall for 20 bucks. Yeah, just I don't know, 20 bucks. I mean, Domkeys sell for two, $300, right? And they last forever. That would be hard to pass up though. I mean, 20 bucks. I can't even fill my car with gas for 20 bucks. I would just get it. And the Great Vanzini says, I bought 100 bucks worth on Amazon the other day. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the support. So if you click on that deals link, even if you're not shopping for photography gear, you click on that deals link, click on any of the products that I might interest you there. But if you buy something else, well, a lot of times I'll get credit for that too. So it's a very, very easy way to support the channel here and the work that I do here. Is just use my affiliate links, whether or not you buy the specific products I recommend. Maybe you want to buy a better messenger bag than the one I recommended. I'll get credit for the other one, assuming you do it within 24 hours. That's kind of the key. And assuming you don't have, you know, uh, what ad blockers or coupon apps and all kinds of things that steal commissions from or override the commissions that I might otherwise earn. I got something stuck in my throat, so pardon me. And Semjon says gas one, and I got the OM3. Sold my OM5 with the 12 to 45 f4 at a focal local store for 1,000. That's good. You got a good deal. $1,000 for your old OM5 and bought the OM3. Worth it though. Yeah, I love my OM3. It is my go-to camera for everything. I just don't want to take anything else. The only exceptions might be is when I'm in the mood for a different look, like the Pentax monochrome I like to take out. And I have no regrets whenever I take that camera out. Just like when I take the OM3, I never regret taking the OM3 out. Uh, Honestly, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any cameras I regret ever taking out. I do regret sometimes when I take too many cameras with me. Like I'll bring my OM3, my Pentax, maybe I'll bring my Nikon, and I'll pack all three of those in my bag, and I end up, getting terrible shots with all of them. So I try to minimize, I try to just focus on what is my intent when I go out and get the camera that will best, meet that need for the whatever I'm going to be doing. For example, yesterday or Sunday when I did my photo job, OM1, right? Has to be the OM1. Even though the OM3 would be able to do it, the OM1 has the well, what does the OM1 have anymore? I could have used the OM3 on the photo job actually. Oh, the OM1 has dual card slots. That's why I always take it because I can always back up. I always have a backup of the of the work, and it's also part of my workflow where I don't delete card slot number 2 until it gets full, and I know I've backed up everything on my computer for my paid shoots anyway. So that way, if anything happens to my computer, uh, then I know I have a backup on my SD card still. And only once did I ever really need to pull the SD card out of my camera and put them back on my computer. because somehow I accidentally deleted my work from that photo job. I had already delivered and everything, but I like to keep backups. I was like, "Oh crap, where's the folder for this client?" You know, I didn't have any of the work there, so I had to pull all the raws back off the SD card. I'd have to re-edit everything if they wanted the pictures again, but that's only happened maybe twice in the last 10 years where a client has reached out to me and said, uh, "Can we get those photos again?" You know, uh, it's very rare, but when it happens, I need to be able to do that, right? And Robin, good to see you. And yeah, it's raining. It's raining today. That's true. And AJ asks, have the tariffs kicked? I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm not looking that hard, right? Uh, but yeah, I don't see any tariffs kicking in yet, but who knows? And Roberto's here, ATR Bear, and James. Good to so James says thank you. You're welcome. And Fringe says I want to buy my first lens. Apart from the 14 to 42 kit lens, I have the EM10. What do you think of the brands like Seven Artisans? It's much cheaper. Well, all of those are going to be manual focus. There's a couple of autofocus third parties like Yongnuo has some. Yeah. And I don't recommend those personally, but if you don't mind manual focus, the Seven Artisans are great with one exception. Seven Artisans, TT Artisans, they make, and these are great alternatives to buying the actual vintage lens. So, for example, because if you, because basically you can buy vintage lenses pretty cheap as well and adapt them to your EM10, and they're going to be manual focus. But if you're buying manual focus and you can save a few bucks buying vintage, why not? But with Seven Artisans and these brands, they they're basically selling them to you brand new for about the same price, give or take. And the challenge with Micro Four Thirds and vintage lenses is the wide angle lenses, the normal focal lengths, like 25 millimeters on Micro Four Thirds, is very expensive in the vintage area. Uh, but you can buy like a brand new 25 millimeter, for example, from Seven Artisans for like $75 or something. I There was a bunch of them on sale last week for 30% off, and nobody bought any lenses. I couldn't believe it. I was like, it's partially because people are not into manual focus, and I don't mind manual focus time to time, but for the most part, I prefer autofocus, and that's if you're just starting out, I would, or if you're just well, I don't know what your level of photography is because you're saying you're having EM10 with a 14 to 42 kind of implies you're a beginner. But that was my first camera, and it was an EM10 Mark II with a kit lens. But I was not a beginner. I was pretty well into photography at that point. And I bought a lot of vintage lenses back then uh, before I bought the EM10 because they natively mounted onto my camera. So the short answer is don't hesitate to buy Seven Artisans lens, TT Artisans. I like Astahori as well. I really like their lenses. The one exception, okay, to all of the lenses that they offer that I've found so far is the 35 millimeter point nine five. The 35 millimeter f.95 is problematic. When you mount that lens on your camera, sometimes your camera does not recognize the lens because the contacts get shorted out and you get a black screen. So if you're interested in a 0.95 lens, don't get the 35. But the other ones seem to be fine. I've had the 50. Um, I've had the 25. I wonder if I still have that. No, I sold it because I don't manually focus that often. So I was like, why am I keeping this lens? All right, and let's see. Yeah, always fun to go off. Yeah. How's that Sony working out for you? Do you still enjoying that camera? I've had many Sonys over the course of the years, and I've just never fallen in love with them. They're just they're fine cameras, but uh, they don't inspire me to take them out and use them. And Chris says, "I'm a beginner. Your visit basically taught me how to use the camera. I really appreciate you." Oh, you're welcome. Okay, so you are a beginner. So yeah, just there's yeah. Don't if you don't mind manually focusing, it's fine. And you can get some really decent lenses just a little bit of money compared to the autofocus, right? And OEM stuff from OM Systems. And AJ says the OM3 with the 150 to 600 is a lot of fun and better combo than the EM1X and 100 to 400 for long photo shoots on a monopole or tripod. Yeah, definitely, definitely with that lens, you need a monopod if you're going to be out for a while. If you're just going out for an hour or two, you can probably get by without it. But if you're going to be for a couple hours, or you're getting old like me, and you don't want to hold, 6 or 7 or 10 pounds, whatever the total weight is of everything, it can wear on you. And Semjon says, I have to say the menu system alone was worth the upgrade from the OM5 to the OM3, so much better, but I need to get used to where everything is. Also, I love the creative dial. Yeah, it's cool. It's a great camera. Uh, with the menu system, another thing is, each tab is color coded. My brain doesn't work this way, but some people really like thinking, okay, I want to go to the green menu for this, and I want to go to the blue menu for this, that kind of thing. So you can, the tabs at the top, because the problem with the menu system, this is the problem. I'm going to go on a rant. This is always the problem with the menu system for me, is that first row are just icons. And it's really difficult as an educator, someone trying to teach somebody how to use the camera and where the stuff is in the menu. I have to say, okay, go over to the cog section, go over to camera menu one, go over to the wrench menu. It's like that they should just number them. So they could say number one, and put a camera icon, number two, camera icon, number three, uh, you know, computational icon, whatever. Then when I tell people, okay, they ask me things, I say, well, go into menu one, page two, line three, click OK there, go into the sub menu, line three. That would be very, very straightforward. But I have to say, okay, go into the setup menu. No, I can't just say that because it's confusing the wrench and the cog menu. Both of these are kind of setup menus, right? And then not everybody knows the difference between a wrench and a cog, right? Or a gear. Go into the gear menu. It's very, very confusing. And OM system not the only one that does that, but they should just number the menu. Then it would be so much easier. Uh okay. But other than that, yeah, it isn't a lot of people like that new menu system. I didn't see much difference between the new menu system and the old one. All they did was make it look like a Canon menu system, but they just inverted the settings. The settings used to be down along the left side, right? Now the settings are just along the top side, and you go down. And that kind of makes more sense to do it that way, and it's color coded a little better. But we could go menu A, B, C, D. You know, the original OM system menu was actually easier to teach because I would say go into the A menu, which is the autofocus menu, right? Go into the B menu, which is the button menu. So I would say, okay, go into A, go into line three, click OK, go into line four, change your setting. But on the new system, it's like, yeah, go into camera menu number two. That's a little vague or ambiguous, right? Because everything on the menu is a camera menu. Anyhow. And Zoltan, good to see you. All right, so let's get into today's deals. 30 minutes into the video, finally, right? Uh, and I'll talk about some of the things I found and what I think about them. So I'm going to rearrange my windows here. Uh-oh. Are we good? All right. Okay, so if you like wrist straps, this is a good deal. $3.45 for a wrist strap, right? And they've also included the a little quick release clasp here, and this looks like genuine leather here, right in here. So I don't know, $3.45 for a wrist strap with the quick release. You don't have to use the quick release. Maybe you can just, like they show here, just put it directly. The let me just check something. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. Never mind. Sometimes when I look at these, I worry about how this is connected here, because you can scratch your camera, right, with this little metal ring. But I think we'll be okay. Yeah, I think we'll be okay here because this is nylon here. But you certainly won't have any issues if you use this. Uh, Another thing is, lens caps. I use lens hoods generally to protect the front element, but because I use filters a lot of times, sometimes I can't use the lens hood. And just having a lens cap on the front with my filters, this is the way to go. And a lot of them are on sale. If you go through here, you can see like the 105 millimeters not on sale, but the 37 millimeters on sale. So you can go through here and see what size you need and if it's on sale. So for example, the 55 millimeters not on sale. The 58, the 62, like the two most popular for Micro Four Thirds is the 58 and the 62. They're not on sale, but say like the 46 millimeter. The 46 millimeter is on sale, and that'll fit like the 17 millimeter, the 25 millimeter. I believe the 37 will fit the 45 millimeter, things like that. And it's just a lens cap, and they give you like a little. I would just cut that string off. Personally, those are annoying, but yeah, if you need a lens cap, they're on sale. This bag here, this is like one of those messenger bags that probably last you years because it's canvas material. Has a nice, this is a good buckle, actually. When it has that little bump in it or ridge in it, I found these buckles to be a little sturdier than the more common buckle where it's just flat and square. Uh, but there's a $5 coupon here, and this is what I was talking about. Don't forget to check this $5 coupon when you're going through uh, different deals or anything you're shopping for. Always look for that coupon or link there on how to get additional discounts. For example, last week to get the 30% off the lenses, you had to click on the link, go to a different page, and add the lens to your cart from that page. Then the discount will apply. So you had to go through some loops to get it, but so pay very careful attention to the fine print, in other words. Okay, well, anyway, back to this bag. 6-liter bag, so it's a decent size. It'll hold, for Micro Four Thirds, it'll hold one camera, couple lenses, and a flash. For full frame, you're gonna hold probably one camera and two lenses, and maybe some, and batteries and stuff, of course. But yeah, there's a zipper here at the top for top access. There's tripod straps. There's a decent buckle here. Um, and the strap is stitched directly into the bag. I always prefer that as opposed to the hooks right? That you hook the strap on and off, because those can be kind of, I don't know, those just are a little bit noisy in some cases. Like when you're walking around, you hear the clinking. But it's more about I just don't like that style, and I prefer the strap to be strapped, and it just aesthetically is much cleaner to me. And the nice thing about canvas bags is you can just throw them in the washing machine if you want to clean them. Uh, but yeah, this looks pretty decent. There's a little front pocket, couple of side pockets, handle on top. I don't see anything wrong with this bag for $15. And it should last you several years, right? Because it's canvas material. I don't see any really good close-up pictures of the strap and the stitching. You know, but yeah, $15. Now the zipper does look a little rubberized though. I don't know. Let me just give a quick look at some of the details. There's a good picture, but it's not clear to me the stitching. Oh, that's cool. They have a little side strap here to attach your peak design. I don't know why you would do that when you have a bag right there to put your stuff in, but okay. And yeah, the zippers have a little nylon cord here. Makes it a lot easier to open and close. But I don't honestly I don't see anything wrong with this bag for $15. I would get it if I didn't already have like 5 messenger bags. Okay, and then this bag, this is only 8% off, but we're starting at only $43 to begin with. So you're going to get this bag for $40 instead of $43 with this coupon. And they're using real leather straps here and leather accents. And it's a good sized bag. If we look at the dimensions, it's 14 inches wide, 4.7 inches deep, which I like. I don't like these bags that are 5, 6, 7 inches deep, because it's just sticking way out the side of your body. This has a nice narrow profile, which I really like. And then 12 inches high, so you can fit some pretty tall lenses. And the straps are adjustable. Now, these are not true straps in the sense of you have to buckle and unbuckle the strap. These just are snap-on. But the buckle here is for adjusting the length of the strap. And it has a separate camera insert. So if you take the insert out, you can use it as a regular messenger bag. I like these two big front pockets and then that are closed to protect and help keep dry, stuff that you might have there. And let's see. Looking at the overall design, you have an additional zipper inside the bag to close it. So again, just a little more protection from weather. I wouldn't take this bag in a sustained rain pour, but if you do get caught in one, at least this has a little bit extra, but I would be very careful. Here you can see the snap that I talked about earlier. And yeah, little leather accents. There's a little bit of leather here on the sides, on the corners for additional, uh, what do they call it? Additional wear and tear. Good side pockets also close with a buckle. So $40 for a canvas leather accent bag. That's a good deal in my book. Even though it's not a particularly good deal for this bag in the sense that it's not like 50% off, but they're not starting. This is the other thing I've noticed. A lot of times products, this is probably a relatively new bag, even though it's got 2,000 reviews at 4.7. You have to be careful with these reviews. Uh, I mean, 2018, 20, I mean, these reviews, 2021, you have to be careful. 2017, yeah, these are really old. And a lot of times the bag that's sold in 2017 is not the same bag that you see here. All they've done is update the product. So you have to be a little careful of the reviews. Pay attention to the review date. Pay attention to what the review says, because sometimes the review is about a different product altogether. Like I'll see a product that has thousands of reviews, say it's a battery, but then I read the reviews and they're talking about, camera straps. And I'm like, so you got 2,000 reviews on a camera strap that are all excellent, but then one or two reviews on the batteries and the batteries suck. You know what I mean? So and just pay attention to the reviews because manufacturers somehow they're able to put their products in under the same code and change the product that has all the good reviews to something that may not be as good. It doesn't seem to be the problem here, but I like this bag. Again, if I didn't have 4 or 5 messenger bags, I would definitely consider this one. Now, for those of you that shoot the Nikon Z mount system, there's many of you here, and you've ever thought about adapting vintage lenses. Like I think the it makes vintage lenses make a lot more sense on full frame cameras because of the focal length and the crop factor. You don't have the same crop factor as you do with a micro four thirds. This I would encourage more people to buy vintage lenses on a full frame system rather than a micro four thirds. But there's a lot of great lenses in M39 and they're going to be old. Okay, so uh but sometimes it's fun to play with old, dirty, fungus, cracked lenses, on your modern digital camera. This is a great deal. I rarely see lens adapters go on sale, especially at this kind of discount. When they do go on sale, it might be like $2 off or 5% off, 50% off, man. That's a good deal. I don't have any Nikon Z mount cameras yet, but if I did, I would buy this adapter now and keep it in the bin. And then when an interesting M39 screw mount lens came up, I would get it. Let's see what else. Okay, so filters, filters, filters. Okay, there's a bunch of filters here in various ring sizes. So get the one that's appropriate for you, like 58 millimeter blue streak filter. This will fit like the 12 to 45 f4 Pro, the 40 to 150 kit lens, and several other lenses from Micro Four Thirds. This is an interesting filter. It does create this effect. Uh, you just have to be a little careful with. I have this filter. Oh, actually, yeah, it shows that I ordered it right here. It's not to shoot at uh very small apertures like f8, f11, that kind of thing. Because what will happen is if you look at this filter closely, it has the lines etched into it to create this streak effect. But then when I shot at very small apertures like f8, f11, you could see these lines in the photo. Of course, just like you see dust spots and things when you close your aperture down, uh, you're going to see these lines in the photos. So you have to pretty much shoot wide open and have a relatively fast lens. I would recommend shooting this lens at 1.8 to 2.8. Anything higher than that, you might start to see these streaks in them. But it's a cool effect. I've done a few cool photos with this. I don't know if I can find one. And it's on, I think I paid more than $12 for mine. Maybe not, maybe less, but I can check. Where did I do this at? Let me just type in sunrise. Maybe the photo I took will show up this way. Yeah, it was in. Let me see. It might be. It's one of the. It was on this day. I know that. If I go into this folder, XC2, because the other thing I do sometimes, like this XZ2, sometimes I just put the filter in front of the lens. I don't actually screw it on a lot of times. Oh, it's not here. Uh, well, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to find it quickly. Anyhow, um, it's kind of a fun filter, especially like in at night in the city with all the street lights and everything. You get little streaks off of it. That's cool. Okay, let's see. I've talked about filters every week uh, on the stream. If you have any questions about filters, feel free to ask. I can make recommendations in that sense, but I always recommend like True Color when it comes to variable ND filters. You really want to look for this, True Colors. And if it's a True Color ND filter, it's going to be a little higher end. So all the other specs that we normally look for, no X pattern, uh, hard stops between 1 to 5 stops. So this, yeah, this also says hard stop and optical glass, whatever. But yeah, this is a good deal because it's a big filter. This 77 millimeter is more for like Canon shooters. I think the 24 to 105 is a 77 millimeter. Both variations, the kit version and the f4 L mount version, those two are both 77 millimeter threads. I might have to get this because I do have a Canon. I don't have an ND filter for it. I have to think about this. I just don't shoot with the Canon very often. Okay, let me just do a couple other quick things on bags. Here's some more filters in different sizes. A 10 stop filter is really good for doing live ND in the daytime, doing waterfalls in the daytime, etc. Everybody should have a 10 stop ND filter. Right now, only the 77 millimeters on sale. All the rest of them are pretty much full price. But this is a good deal. I might have to think about this. I need to beef up my Canon filters. I only have one lens for my Canon, but this 24 to 105, I don't really need anything else. And it's the kit version. It's not even the f4L version. I just bought the cheapest one, 300 bucks. And I'll probably spend more on filters than I spent on that lens, but the filters make a big difference in expanding your photography and the things you can do. Okay, but yeah, this bag here, this is definitely a maybe a 2-year bag. Don't overstuff it. It's gonna tear. All right. These bags at this price point, they're not gonna have the highest quality stitching and materials. But that said, our Micro Four Thirds gear is not that heavy, and it's a small bag, so you're not gonna put a whole lot of stuff in here anyway. But yeah, $28, and you got a nice little backpack that you can keep in your car. And then when you want to bring extra gear, you can just put a couple extra things in there and go, right? But the way they have it packed here, this is a bit overstuffed. Uh, I would not put this much stuff in it. What I like though is it comes with a lot of dividers. Now, the side benefit to buying these cheap bags, especially this one with all of the extra dividers, is when you do buy a quality bag, a lot of bags are too big for Micro Four Thirds, but you can cannibalize uh, the dividers from this bag and use them in a new bag that you get. And I do that all the time. I am constantly cannibalizing older bags for the dividers and using them in my newer bags. Because buying dividers alone will cost you $15 to $25. When you can just get a whole backpack with the dividers included, use it until it, rips, or you want a bigger one or smaller one, whatever. You get some until you get something else, then you can cannibalize the parts out of this and use it. Okay. Yeah, but it has a lot of nice little features as a canvas material. I don't see any good photos again, really, of the strap system or how it's stitched. They say reinforced stitching right here, so but I can't tell. The important part of the backpack is how it's stitched directly into the backpack itself. The shoulder straps being stitched into the uh, backpack. That's usually the weak point, but I just don't see any good pictures of that. But again, for $16, or I'm sorry, for $28, this is not a bad deal because of all of the dividers they're including. Again, I this is very, very common. You'll notice a lot of backpacks in this price point, they are very picky about showing how the straps are stitched into the bag itself. It's really hard to find. On the expensive backpacks, usually you can see it clearly because that's a key point. But on these low-end backpacks, for whatever reason, you can never find a good picture of how these are stitched. Yeah, there's no picture. Like, I can't see anything here. But honestly, for $28, I'm not gonna complain too much. Uh, this color I'm not crazy about, but the bag looks pretty nice. Now, it does have these plastic, this is definitely a plastic loop. And again, if you prefer a strap that you can remove and put your own strap on, this is the way to go. It's just this color would be hard to match other straps. And this is definitely one you're gonna have to put in a washer. But it's a nice small compact size. It's gonna protect your gear well enough. And when you just need like an everyday bag for $13.50, I mean, uh, you may prefer this style more than the other bag that I recommended up here. Uh, where did it go? This one. I would recommend this bag over the other one, but the other one has the removable strap and a different style, so you may like that better. Okay, and then let's see. Let me just quick scan. Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention. There's another bag here for $15. This is a little bit odd design. It's mostly accessed from the top rather than flipping up. And so it's not really a messenger bag, it's more like a sling. But this looks like a decent bag. It's a good size, good stitching all the way around. Because I always like to look at the stitching. So this is stitched on two sides into a buckle. And most of the stitching is inverted. So you see the stitching right here along the back. This stitching is exposed to the outside, right? But when you look at the stitching around the bag, all the places that would get the most wear and tear, they're all folded inside of itself, so it's not exposed. Thereby, it's not going to wear out and bag's going to fall apart. So they put a little thought into the stitching. But I get it. You can't always have inverted stitching. Uh, because of the way they wanted to add this strap and an extra pocket in the back. A higher quality bag could have inverted stitching, but most bags, they do this on the back. But everywhere else, the corners, the sides, the front is all inverted inside of it. So I don't know the technical term. I'm not a seamstress, right? But the bag is folded inside out, stitched, and then folded back, and then they do a little bit of more stitching on the back. Okay, $15 though. That looks like a nice bag, and it's a little bigger than the other ones I've shown. It has an extra layer here in the padding, so you can stack lenses on top of each other or gear on top of each other, and they'll be protected from banging against each other in the bag. I usually use microfiber towels and things inside my bag to separate things when I'm packing multiple things. But this, having a dedicated divider is always a little nicer to have. A little keyring strap, front pocket zipper, no side pockets though, it looks like. So you're gonna have to put everything inside the bag. And it's available in different colors. If you don't like that green, you can get this black one. But yeah, I like the stitching on this one. This I would say is probably this and the other bag. These are probably the two top deals today. Is the first the first canvas bag I showed here. So I would just go based on style. If I think this is still the best deal, this Tulio for $15. If you like the sling style bags. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is okay, well, not the last thing. This is a good deal. This is a great starter set. 58 millimeter is on sale this week. So again, 12 to 45 Pro, F4 Pro. This is a great filter set to start with. $15. They include the filter holder, uh, a circular polarizer, an ND filter. This is an ND64, which is just about right. And then you can probably throw this away. This is a UV. Oh no, this is an ND8. Okay, so good. So they're giving you two ND filters and a polarizer. They didn't stuff it with a piece of crap CPL sorry, UV filter. Nobody needs a UV filter. Just use one of these. A lot of people, the circular polarizer is glued to their lens. They will not shoot without it. ND filters are very, very useful for, again, letting you get that longer shutter speed. A lot of videographers like to use ND filters, but I use them a lot in photography uh, to slow my shutter speed down for, waterfall effects, for example, street photography where you want blurring, and also live ND. And let's see, another big one is the flash photography. If you're doing portraits, a lot of times your sync speed in your camera is limited to 1/200th, 1/250th of a second. And to stay within that sync speed, you have to use an ND filter if you're going to shoot with flash. So I use these a lot in flash photography uh, and also for long exposure photography. And a CPL is just a good general purpose, reduce haze, increase contrast, that kind of thing. And I didn't buy this personally, but I did recommend it to a close friend of mine, and she uses it a lot, and I didn't see any problems. And she's using a Canon R5 Mark II, and she's not seeing any degradation in image quality using these filters because it's a solid ND, so you don't have to worry too much. So this is a good deal, 58 millimeters. Okay, this was the last thing I wanted to talk about. Then I'll get back to the chat section. This flash is 50, it's normally 70. It's, 29% off, so it's $50. But it has a 20% coupon on top of that. So again, don't forget to check this. And let's see if they have, it's a single pin, so there's no TTL or anything. You're able to control everything manually. Now they tout an auto mode. Basically, uh, it has a sensor or something in it to try to figure out how much flash you need. And I guess it's useful. I wouldn't worry about it. You can manually adjust the flash to the power you need pretty quickly, but it has a built-in battery, so this is a disposable flash, meaning after probably several years, you may not be able to charge a battery anymore. If you're using it on a regular basis, it's going to take several years for you to kill this battery, kind of like your cell phone, right? You use it every day. A lot of them you can't replace the battery anymore. And but with this, you're only what 20% off. That would make this flash $40. You can use this. It's great if you just want a compact flash. The only challenge with these flashes is that it's relatively low profile. So meaning with short lenses like this, it's perfectly fine. But with longer lenses, I think even this lens would be okay. And you're not going to use a telephoto lens typically with this flash, but I have noticed with like my 12 to 40 Pro when I have it extended out all the way, because the flash doesn't sit high enough off the camera at wide angles like 12 millimeters with the lens hood on, sometimes I'll get a little bit of a shadow in the bottom of the frame. Like I said, I think for most people it's not going to be an issue, but for people that uh, you know, just so you don't get any surprise, I'm telling you now, if you have a relatively fat lens or lens hood on a fat lens hood, because some lenses they kind of extend out way beyond the lens itself. You know, you might get a shadow in the lower portion on wider angle lenses like the 12 millimeter 12 to 40 Pro. But most of us aren't shooting wide angle with flash, right? Typically we're shooting at normal focal lengths like 25 millimeters or 50 millimeter equivalent, in which case, no shadow. It's perfectly fine. I would say even down to 35 millimeters, you'll be okay, or a 17 millimeter lens on micro four thirds, you'll be fine with this flash, lens hood or not. But it's just when you get to the bigger lenses, it could be an issue. But I like this. I like this for 40 bucks. Uh, LED display, internal battery for faster recycle times. Actually, it says it right here, 1.5 seconds. Uh, 650 full power flashes. You don't have to worry about batteries. Just charge this once and it'll last you a long time. And because it's even with my TT350, it's a constant problem. I have to make sure I have a full set of batteries and spares ready to go. Whereas with these lithium ion, this is a lithium ion battery. Uh, you don't have to worry so much. You charge them once and you're good, pretty much all day, or maybe even several days. So those are the deals. This is a good deal, 49 millimeter. Uh, this is kind of an odd size, but I know my Minolta lenses are, my vintage Minoltas are like 49 millimeters. Again, the 77, let's see. So I think I'll make these my top deals. What is this? True Color Variable ND. Oh, 49 millimeter. It's kind of an odd size. But this 58, so for the Micro Four Thirds shooters today, the 58 millimeter and those messenger bags we looked at are great deals. For Canon shooters, the 77 millimeter 10 stop ND, this is a really good deal. And I would go with the larger messenger bag if you're like a full frame Canon shooter. This is going to be the way to go. You could get away with this, but things are going to be tight. It's always going to, this would not be a good everyday bag for a full frame camera because you'd only be able to fit the camera and one extra lens, right? Two lenses, one on the camera, one in the side, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. But this makes more sense. This way, you can bring your camera with two lenses and a flash, camera, two lenses, and other accessories like your GoPro, whatever. And you got front pockets for filters and all kinds of things. And this makes more sense for full frame camera shooters, everyday bag. For Micro Four Thirds, this this bag, if you like to bring everything all the time, this bag makes more sense. So, you can bring your 12 to 40, your 75 to 300, uh, your 17, your 45, your 25, flash, your GoPro. You can put everything in there and your camera. Uh, so this bag makes more sense when you need to bring a lot of gear for Micro Four Thirds. This makes, or if you're a full frame shooter, this is more like an everyday bag. Okay, and that's it. So, robtrek.com/deals, everything is there. Those are my top recommendations for the day, are the messenger bags and those filters that I pointed out. And this adapter if you're a Nikon shooter. All right, let me get back to the chat section and we can talk about photography, or I can answer any questions if you guys are looking for stuff. Paul says Luminar Neo added an update that allows DNGs to be output. I only get them to open in DxO if there are no changes made. Any thoughts? I haven't tried it. I can only get them to open in DxO if there are no changes made. Oh, okay. That's interesting. I've noticed that DNGs don't always open in DxO, and I'm not sure why that is. And if they're opening with no changes, but then if you make changes, they don't open, that's interesting. I have to try it, Paul. I know I've been talking about doing editing with Luminar for months now, and I haven't done it yet. Uh, but this is something I can try real quick. I don't have any thoughts on why that would be the case. I'd have to look into it. Okay, just going down. Yeah, those are the old. Yeah, so I know you have a Nikon, right? Yeah, the old like a screw mounts, the L39, M39. I've seen it listed both ways. Do I use any filters when doing real estate? No, I don't. If I the problem is because when I'm doing my real estate photography, I have to use this wide angle lens, and there's no filter thread. Now I know that the Olympus, I believe the Olympus one has threads, the 8 to 25 f4. If I had that lens, I might use a polarizer for the reflections in windows and things like that. Definitely, I would use a polarizer, but I don't have that lens. I've been just getting by with this one. I just don't do enough photo jobs to justify buying a dedicated lens for that. When I started doing my real estate and commercial property photography, I bought this lens and I've been getting by with this without filters and all of that. If I was doing photo jobs every week uh, in that genre, then yeah, I would get the 8 to 25 and I would get with the filter threads and I would use a polarizer because it would be very, very useful. Like I'll show you the job I just finished. Where are those photos? Just to give an example, it's my client folder. Okay. I need to label these. So, like you see these windows, and you can see I'm standing right here. I tried to brush this out, but I said, screw it. Proof I was there. But there's a reflection of me. But yeah, I could have definitely reduced the reflections in the windows up here. This window, there's not really much going on, but yeah, all of this screen and all of that, a polarizer would have fixed very nicely. Again, the reflections in these windows, it'd have been nice to minimize those in the scene. And this is where a polarizer would have made a big difference. There's really strong reflections up here and back in here. So, see how this window's nice and black, but then this has strong reflections. There's some reflections up here. This is where I would use a polarizer a lot. Anyone want to take a guess what this house is listing for? Um, is there a picture of the front? Yeah. And this is way out in the frickin' sticks. I had to drive an hour to get there. So this is two-car garage. Anyway, I'm just curious what you guys think in US dollars. What do you think that would be? But yeah, going back to this, these reflections in the windows, the polarizer would have taken care of a lot of that. Like, I don't like this reflection up here. But no agent is going to notice the difference. And they were pretty happy with these images. I mean, not pretty happy. They were very happy, of course. They were so happy, in fact, with these images that they paid more than what I asked for, uh, which was nice. They paid me a little extra because whenever I send an invoice out, I always leave a room for a tip, and time to time I'll get a little tip. Uh, when I send an invoice, then they'll add a couple extra bucks. So yeah, the mini Godot's coming tomorrow. Okay, cool. 4 million, 2 million. Wow, you guys are actually a little high. It's 1.4 million. It's kind of I believe it's going to be right around the asking price. Maybe 1.5. Wow, not 4 million. Wow. $4 million. You'd have to get, like I said, this was out in the sticks, like way the frick out, like, you know, something out in that. Honestly, if I had to drive that far, because you're like an hour away from DC, which is the main area, right? The main kind of the center point of the DMV area. You're like an hour out from DC with no traffic. If you add traffic, you're 2, 3 hours out. Okay. Working in DC is not an option. So this is the kind of house you buy when you work from home or you work somewhere locally to the area. You don't buy that house if you work in the DMV area, generally. So that's why it's 1.4 million. Because if it was closer in, yeah, it'd probably be closer to 2 million to $4 million. I know like a little matchbox townhouse in Alexandria, which is in the heart of everything. Yeah, $2 to $4 million for a little frickin' beat up old townhouse. I mean, technically it's a historic district, so all of the townhouses are old and beat up down there. They're well maintained. I shouldn't say they're beat up, but they're old, you know, old. And yeah, 2 to 4 million. I did a photo shoot for a townhouse. They were asking $2.6 million. Just a little bitty townhouse. My house is bigger than that townhouse, and I can only get probably 20% or less of the cost of what they were asking for. 850 for no, no, it was 1.4 million. Uh, Same as Sydney prices. Okay. I don't know how many square feet that house is though. Let me see. I mean, it helps to have more information. It's a 3.5 bedroom, 4,486 square feet on 1.27 acres. But it's way out. It was in a nice brand new kind of neighborhood. It was a nice house. I could live there because I don't really commute, right? In fact, I'd probably commute less or it would probably, because a lot of my jobs are way the frick out there. Oh, it's such a pain. I have to charge extra for tolls and stuff when I do those jobs. Okay. Don't see any other questions. Pretty quiet today. Not a lot of people here as usual. Nobody watches my streams except you guys that are here now. Uh, Makes me wonder if I should keep doing these or not. I like doing them, but man, if nobody's really showing up, oh, Shri is here. Well, now, okay, it's worth it now. I can just hang out with Shri and the rest of you guys. Um, let's see. I got to crank out a couple videos this week. I did work with a model this week. She's not really a model, but I posted them on my Instagram, a couple of shots, and oh, it's early in California. Yeah, yeah. It's only like 7:30 in the morning there, and I started at 6:30. Right? Maybe I should start later. USA has way better design houses. I have no idea. I don't know what houses in Australia look like. You guys got that big amphitheater though, that's pretty cool, right? Um, so they know how to design nice houses. They just don't for whatever reason. And my house is not that nice. Just a rancherish style. I guess they call it a rancher. I don't know. I got two levels, but one level's kind of underground, semi-underground, and then the top level, I have a nice big porch and a fenced in, not a fenced in, a sunroom. It sounds nice when I say it, but this house is not that nice. Uh, Built in 1950, something like that. This house is old, old. And we make the best musical instruments in the world. Hey, I guess I'm not that familiar with musical instruments, but every place has sort of their signature item that they make, right? Um, the Germans have their Leica and the Mercedes. They have kind of their signature. I wouldn't say Mercedes anymore, but definitely the Leicas. They have kind of their signature product in my mind. The USA has Peak Design, right? I'm talking about photography stuff. They have Peak Design, and let's see. I think Peak Design is USA. And the Japanese, they have all the other camera stuff, right? They're known for all the different brands, Canon, Sony, Nikon, OM Systems, all of those guys. And let's see, in Australia, the land is more expensive than the house. Really? It's kind of the opposite here. Usually the house is valued much more than the land, depending where it is, obviously. Um, but you have to be careful out here, man. If you don't, the land value is going up a lot because of all the freaking data centers they got going on. Man, don't blink. If you own like any land at all, like, several hundred acres, you are sitting on a gold mine because a data center, whoever they are going to make you an offer to buy that land off you. If they don't make an offer, government eminent domain will force you to sell your land at quote unquote fair market price. But the problem is everybody around that area, their prices go down because the data centers use so much power. They have to run all kinds of power lines and everything, and it's complicated. It's not always the case, but you just have to be careful. If you own hundreds of acres, you're probably sitting on a gold mine. But generally, residential properties, they are the house is worth much more. And then in commercial properties, it's kind of the opposite. The land is worth more because of the location than the building itself. Because a lot of times they'll just tear the building down and put up their own when it comes to commercial property. Houses are way overpriced in Australia. That's the main reason I moved back to the UK. Really? You would think with all the land that's in Australia and that small population, it'd be pretty cheap over there. And John says, ordered the newer filter system. Thank you. Oh, wow. Appreciate using the link if you did. And also, I think you'll really like that filter. If you got that CPL and ND filter kit, that's a good kit. And Paul says, thanks for the tip on the adapter. Picked up the M39 to Nikon Z lens mount. Only two left now. Cheers. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, $12, right? Man, that's normally you pay 20 to $25 for those filters. You used to be able to get them for $12 all day long, but the way prices are now, getting one for less than $20 is always a deal now. And with AI getting bigger too, they need server farms. I know. It's crazy, man. Don't blink. And out in farmland and farm country, man, they're sitting on gold mines because all the data centers, assuming they're near a power plant, if they're not near a power plant, then they're going to run power lines to and from. And that's when we get into the problem with the data centers, is when they start, when they start requiring dedicated power lines. So a lot of times the data centers are located near the power stations, but when they're located further out, they have to run power lines. And that really messes with a lot of other people's properties along the way. Because you bought this beautiful home out in the country, and then all of a sudden, there's power lines going over your property, and you're like, oh man. And then, of course, your property value goes down because nobody wants to buy a house right next to a major power line. So we're not talking about small power lines. We're talking about, these things are like 200 feet high with a dozen, you know, really thick cables, right, going across to feed these freaking data centers. My audio's out of sync. That's possible. I have to set the audio separately. I'm going to change it here and see if sometimes if you refresh your browser, that'll fix it, but it's probably on my end. Yeah, I didn't. Okay, there. I fixed the audio sync issue, I think. I have to dial in about 200 to 220 millisecond audio syncing on my OBS. Any tips on? Yeah, so a lot of people like to use those mist filters. Like, I prefer the black mist filter because it maintains the contrast, but it does soften the image quite a bit. And that's usually what people do, is they add a mist filter. So I don't know what lens you have on your 6700, but um, you want to find the right ring size and get the black. And the black mist filters, don't buy it right away. Wait for a sale. There is a sale on a black mist filter right now. I didn't put it on the page, but let me pull it up real quick. And you want to get probably the 1/4 black mist. So, and for video, well, for video, you can buy black mist and D filter combined. Um, can't it, nah, that's not. Do you know what size your filter ring is? Then I can find a Sigma 35 1.4. Okay. So let me see. I forget what the ring size in that is, but I'll look it up. So it has a 67 millimeter. Okay. 67s go on sale quite a bit. Uh, I don't see any. Oops, sorry. Let me put the page up. That's a half. A half would be a bit too much. 20 bucks. These are small though. Why isn't there a 67? Here's a 67. That's a white mist. Black diffusion. Two in one. Polarizer and you don't necessarily need a polarizer. But this I prefer to have the polarizer separate because a lot of times I just want to use the polarizer. I don't need the black mist. But the pricing is such that it doesn't hurt to have both. Let me just put that to the side. This is a 1/8. That ain't gonna cut it. This is an all-in-one. So it looks like right now, this is the way to go. 67 millimeter, 20% coupon. If you're not in a hurry, this will go on sale for 50% off eventually. So let me get a link. But then again, we're talking about $23. Why wait if you want it now? Just get it. We're not talking about, hundreds of dollars difference by waiting. But here's the link to that one. So 20% off would be almost $6. So we're talking about about $23 for that filter, and it's a combo CPL and black mist. And the CPL at 35 millimeters, you'll be okay. CPL and black mist. Yeah, you'll be okay because we're not talking about landscape photography. If we were talking about landscape photography, it'd be different. You probably wouldn't want to use, you'll be okay. Yeah, at 35. If you go wider, it's a little bit troublesome. But like I said, 23 seems fair. I don't see anything else right now though. Like I said, I found one this morning, but it was kind of an odd size. Let me see. Here's a 67. Hmm, 60. Oh man, if these were on sale, these earth filters, sometimes these are no brainers. Let me see what this, the 60. These earth filters, sometimes these go on sale for like 60, 70, 80% off, but only a certain size. Right now, they're all at full price. Less, whatever the coupon is, that doesn't count. There was a time when you can get this filter for like 30 bucks, if I recall correctly. That would be a steal because this is top tier glass basically, and but not at a top tier price. But yeah, unfortunately, this is not on sale. But this is what I would look out for. Is this? Let me give you the link to this. Just check it time to time. I mean, I try to include these things on my deal page, but sometimes I miss them. This is these these earth filters. It's very easy to miss the deals on these. You have to be specifically looking for them, but keep an eye on this link also for those filters. If you can get that filter for 30, $35, that's a no-brainer in my opinion. The other filter that was selling for 23, that's something you can get now, and it'd probably be just fine because we're not worried about sharpness and all of that, right? Because we're trying to soften the image. But I used the black mist filter on this last photo shoot I did. Where are those pictures? My deliverables page. I can show you. I'll just show you the unedited clients. Holly. So these are unedited, right? Let me find a good example. This is fine, but it's hard to tell, but there's a very soft glow on this image. But whoops, there's very soft glow on this image, but there's still good contrast, as you can see. So this is one way to kind of get that little slightly more cinematic look out of a lens instead of being so clinically sharp. Because there's still plenty of detail here, right? I can see like all the strands of hair and everything, but there's just this very soft glow. It's hard to describe. And I use the black mist filter for all of these portrait type shots. Uh, and this is my OM3 with 12 to 40 Pro. And there's still plenty of fine detail, but it's just a little bit of a soft glow to the image overall. So yeah, I like this. I can show you where's that image? After a little bit of editing, where's this was one of my favorites. I really like this image. I don't know why. This is my favorite image from the set. This is the Nick collection. So I applied the just a simple filter, the 559 monochrome. I didn't do any other editing to this image other than cropping it slightly and applying the 559 monochrome filter, and I was done. And people always wonder, God, how do you edit your images so fast? Well, first you get it right in camera, exactly what you want, the composition, the framing, and everything. And then when you go into post processing, maybe straighten it a tiny bit, and then apply a preset if you have one, and I'm done. Like, uh, this image I had to do a little bit more work on. This is not my this freaking step ladder here pissed me off. I don't know how I missed that. in the frame. I just didn't see it, probably because I was looking at her too much. But that stepladder, that was a pain in the butt to edit. I ended up with, where's the stepladder image? It was this one. I ended up with this one, and I had to fricking Photoshop the, fricking stepladder out. But that yeah, that pissed me off to no end. I was mad at myself, you know? I think I caught it in a later shot. Yeah, when I was over here, I was like, "That effing stepladder. How did I miss that?" And I got it out of the way there. But wow, that was trials and tribulations, right? Sorry, let me get back to the chat window. Okay, but yeah, those photos, that was a fun shoot. It wasn't really ultimately my vision. I was working with another photographer, so the outfits and the location and everything were already decided. And I was there to help with the lighting, and then I got a few shots of my own, right, along the way. But yeah, she thought my camera was cool, my OM3. So that was the OM3 with the 12 to 40 Pro and a black mist filter. Did I didn't put a polarizer on it. It's just a black mist filter. I could have used a polarizer too, come to think of it, because there was some spots there that I didn't take because of the way the glass was. But filters are a big deal, and that's why I feature them every week. Uh, because even if you buy a cheap one, the only exception would be is don't buy a cheap variable ND filter. It has to be a little bit above. It has to be a true color variable ND filter. The cheaper ones, you run into two problems. You run into major white balance problems, which is not a big deal if you shoot raw and you correct for that color later. But then also I found sometimes they're a little bit soft, like the optical quality is not that great. But if you get a true color variable ND filter, you'll be okay. And I use those time to time for my shoots where I use flash. I didn't use much flash in that photo shoot was mostly natural light. There were a couple of shots where I used flash for fill in, but most of it was natural light. Um, but yeah, she's photogenic. Yeah, I'm gonna work with her maybe in the future. Um, I've got like 3 or 4 models now that are willing to work with me, but they're not paid shoots. They're just trade for pics kind of thing. Because I'm not a portrait photographer. I haven't developed a portfolio. I like architecture, and I don't know if it's a genre I want to get into, but I do have fun doing it, right? Just taking pictures of pretty girls. That's always fun. And I want to deliver nice images for them to use for their whatever they're going to use it for. But doing it for money, that's a different level. I would have to take that a lot more serious. Yeah, is portrait a viable business? I don't know, to be honest. I'm really not a good person to ask for business advice because I don't have the same motivation I did when I was younger to expand the business side of my photography. I mean, I still have clients left over from the last 10 years, but I don't actively pursue new clients. Like, I don't ask for referrals, I don't send out emails or go to networking things. That's where you meet a lot of people is you go to these networking events. Um, I just haven't done it in a long time. I enjoy just helping people with their photography, like doing these live streams and stuff. I don't make a lot of money, That's why every little bit helps if you guys use my affiliate links and donations, coffees, membership, all that stuff. Every little bit helps. Uh, and I get the occasional photo job, and they're not even major jobs. They're sub $1,000 jobs. Uh, but I get the occasional photo job from previous clients that I've had. I've lost a few clients. One because pricing. That's fine. I just don't want to do a job for too cheap because the real estate photography, commercial photography here is very competitive. And the demand for high quality work right around this price point, I just feel like people aren't willing to pay for higher quality work. I'm definitely better than the photographers they've hired since me. I can see it in their current portfolio, in the current marketing that they do, because they use those photos. And I'm like, you know, they're doing okay, but that's not, you get what you pay for, you know? And then I lost another client because the photographer was better than me. He charged more too, but they were willing to pay for it. And even if they paid me more, I couldn't do as good a work as that photographer. And I told the agent that. I said, yeah, you got to keep that guy. He's good. He's expensive. If you need a cheaper job, she still sends me cheaper jobs time to time, you know, but uh her high-end properties that she does, she hires this other guy because that guy does a good job. Like much better than me. Not just, I mean, on its face, it looks like it's just a little better, but I can see a huge difference in our skill set and composition and just overall knowledge of the business. That guy is much better than me, and he charges more, about 30% more than me, from what I can tell. I don't know exactly how much more he charges, but a rough estimate, I'd say he's charging 30 to 40% more than I would charge her. But I wouldn't be able to do as good a job or offer as many different things. Um, yeah, doing portraits for business, for business people, again, it's about networking, right? Uh, and the problem is there's not a lot of repeat business. It's always new business, right? So you have to constantly find, because turnovers are constantly high. So you have to have a good spread of different companies that have high turnover where they constantly need you to come in. At least that's how it is here. And a lot of businesses really don't need portraits quite as much as they used to because everybody works from home. But for the companies that do, once you do a shoot for them, it might be a couple of years before you do another one. And meaning like they have 20, 30, 40 people they need to get done. And you line them up and you set up a day and you line them up and you do them all in one day. If you're talking about individuals like people I know, people you know already, that's hard. You can't make a living. That's not a business. That's just a side hustle, right? But if you want to do portrait work, yeah, you have to do a lot of networking, get to know companies and people that have teams of people working for them. Like a lot of sales businesses, right? That do active sales. They want to see the crew that does the work or the staff that does the work. The sales rep needs a picture. See, there, you might get 20 to 60 images out of one company, but you probably won't get it again for a while. You paid $100 for a two-bedroom. Wow. Yeah, that's what I mean. You get what you pay for. The person that undercut me is not using an iPhone, but they're using a camera. I feel like they're where I was when I started doing commercial photography, right? Where the images were were okay, you have kind of the basics down, but the level of quality and attention to detail and the compositions for the properties and the interior are not quite there yet. And because it's not just about getting a picture of a room and keeping your lines straight. That's a lot of it, keeping your lines straight, but it's also about composing the scene so that you can see layers. So, let's see. Like this is a decent shot. Like this shot, you can see the layers in the property, right? Because you have the grass, the stairs in the foreground, then you have the deck, and then you have the chimney there. There's multiple layers here to work with. A shot that typically doesn't have layers. Here's another layered shot. So it's important to see the depth. You have to be very, like, I didn't do a good job on this shot, but I didn't want to take this picture. But the realtor asked me to take this picture. She wanted to get these azaleas in the shot. And I'm like, ooh, okay. So this picture is a little rough. It's not layered very well because from my point of view and the wide angle that I had to use, this looks to me, I didn't like this shot personally, but she liked it. The agent liked it, but I didn't like it because the azaleas, you can't see where the grass separates from the property, right? Because if I show you a different angle, see this angle, see how much grass is here? There's a lot of grass here in front. So this shot's a little better layered, right? Because I have the grass, I have the azaleas here, the fence line, and the trees in the background. So there's layers here. But this shot, where did it go? This one, we're missing that layer between the azaleas. So we got the azaleas, and then we go right to the property. So now the two things are kind of flat. It's just little things, things that I would notice that the agent doesn't necessarily notice, right? Like here's the deck. This is nicely layered. We have the windows along the side, the table, this umbrella, sort of your front layer. Then you have your middle layer here with the deck chairs. And in the background, we have the chimney and the floor, that kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, some pictures are better than others to illustrate the point that I'm trying to make. But it's important to show the property or room or whatever it is in a way that the person looking at it can see different levels of the property or room or furniture without having, unlike that azalea shot where you have no sense of how big are those azaleas compared to the property. They look huge in there. But we were walking by the azaleas and she's like, oh, get a shot of these. And I just kind of gave her this look. I'm like, oh, I can take it, but I don't think it's going to be great. Ugh. Anyhow, she was fine with it. And Simjan says, my boss wanted some new headshots recently and asked me. I declined because I never done portraits. So he hired a girl who charged a lot of money and used a phone. It's fine. You can use a phone for portrait shots if your lighting is good, right? But if I've only done, and there was only 5 people. I've done one corporate shot. I've done two. One was a group of 5. The other one was just 2 people. uh, when I did the 2 people, I only charged $200, $100 a head. And I gave them multiple options. I didn't just take like one picture of each, but still. Uh, I had 2 lights set up, a reflector. I had a location in their office. I planned out that I wanted to use, and then I took the shots. The buyer would be wowed by those photos. I don't know. I don't know why I was talking about layers to begin with. What was the point of that whole thing? Um, Roberta was talking about paid $100 for a two-bedroom townhouse, yeah, with an iPhone. And then I was talking about the how I lost business to this guy because he charged so little. I mean, he had to be charged because I don't charge that much. I charge probably less than a lot of photographers with the same skill set, but I don't charge that little that anybody with a phone or camera would charge. You know what I mean? Because I do put a lot of work and effort into my photos, and plus my experience of taking photos and seeing the composition and the layering and the space and identifying objects that need to be photographed or not photographed. All these things come over time with experience, dealing with your customer, et cetera, et cetera. And then some guy comes along with a camera and undercuts you, and they deliver the basics, but they don't have the experience, right? And I'm not a high-end commercial real estate photographer by any means. Okay, I don't claim to be, but I certainly I certainly deserve the price that I'm asking. I think. I think I do. So learning about layers, very powerful concept. Yeah, like I said, being able to see well, this is not really a new concept in photography in general, right? Foreground, middle ground, background. It's not a new concept, but when it comes to properties and rooms and whatever it is, architecture, you don't want to take a flat image, right? You want to be able to see the design elements in the architecture in the bedroom, or if it's a living room, you want to see the various furniture. Is this table kind of tall relative to the couch, right? Is the shelf or this table and the shelving, you know what I mean? Like you have shelving and then you have a table under the shelf. You don't want the shelf to look too big or the table to look too big. You need to take it at an angle and perspective that the person looking at that has a sense of the size relative to each other, and then the size of the objects in the room relative to everything else. So I'll give you another example. Um, I took two deck photos. Okay, so where's how can you get? So here are two deck photos, same deck, but very different perspectives, right? This photo on the left is a little bit more representative of the relative sizes and shapes and depth of the deck space. This first one right here, with the exception of this table here. This table is a little bit distorted because I couldn't back up. I was standing right here against this fence. I couldn't back up anymore, but I need to capture the side here that this area is open, and then of course the chairs. So this is the most representative of the actual space. But I had to take a second picture because of this table. I took another picture over here. So now you have a sense of this table size relative to the rest of the sofa. Okay, and this chair is fine. Now this table's slightly distorted, but I was able to back up a little further for this shot. I should have backed up further. If I did this shot over, why couldn't I back up further? Let me look at the deck again. Oh, because of this wall. Yeah, I couldn't back up much further. Ideally, I would have backed up a little bit to get less wide angle distortion, but that's why I took those 2 shots. So this is what I mean about, taking pictures and then trying to, accurately portray the elements of the different things in the proportions that they are in real life. Uh, but if I didn't do the interior of this property. They didn't ask me to do the interior. But if I was doing the interior, the same principle applies, I look at all the different elements, objects inside the room, and I try to represent everything as accurately as possible so that people get a sense of the size of the space, the size of the things in the space relative to each other. But when you're dealing with super wide angle lenses, I was shooting with a 7 to 14. It's hard towards the end, so a lot of times I crop in quite a bit, and I crop in certain lines and angles so that that wide angle distortion is less obvious, right? And it's more representative to the true size and space and dimensions of that room or whatever. So Semjon says she didn't use lighting, just pictures you take of friends on a phone, but charging money for it. I'd rather be a hobby. It seems like a stressful profession with lots of good and bad competition. Yeah. Well, if you enjoy photography and you can make a living from it, why not? That's what I did, right? Because before photography, I was like a computer guy, or business guy, right? And I don't want to get into that. Was a train wreck. But I decided to just do photography for a business. Now it's more like a side hustle than an actual business. And then this YouTube stuff is what I do now. What's the morals these days using a fisheye to make a room bigger than it really is? Is it still done? Yeah, it's done all the time. It's done all the time. Uh, but you're not really misrepresenting a property just because you shot it with a wide angle and it looks bigger in the picture than it actually is. Uh, at least around here, it's generally known that uh, a lot of the properties that come with floor plans and dimensions and square footage and all of that stuff. So taking a picture should be an accurate representation. And using a wide angle lens, there's distortion there, and I try to minimize that distortion by shooting as far back as I can. If I can't shoot any further back, then I crop in and take 2 pictures, maybe 3 pictures of a smaller room to give that perspective. If there's furniture in it. If there's no furniture in it, you don't have to worry about it. But it's not immoral to shoot wide angle. I mean, I guess you could exaggerate rooms intentionally, but I hope that's not the case. That to me would be immoral. But sometimes it can't be helped shooting wide angle. I know I've run into that situation all the time. A lot of times, it's a very small bathroom, so I'll shoot it vertical so that I'm not shooting wide. Then the distortion comes in the ceiling and the floor. So what I do is I shoot lower, right? I shoot at a lower angle so that the floor is not quite as distorted as the ceiling. And then it looks, it's just I don't know. It's all these little things that you kind of pick up with experience over the years that when I look at these other photographers that took my clients, I'm like, okay, you're fine with it. Most people are, right? They look at your picture for like 2 seconds and they're like, that's good, right? Okay. It's been a couple hours. You seem to slow down a bit. So I'm gonna call it here. So thanks everyone for joining me today. I got I'm really busy this week, so I don't know how much I'm gonna be able to do. I don't know if I'll be able to do the Friday stream. Sunday I should be back though for a regular stream. And I guess I you know I really appreciate you guys joining me. The few of you that do join me on the Tuesdays, maybe I should do these stream a bit later in the evening. Of course, I'm tired by then. I want to just go to bed. And, you guys are great. Thanks for all the questions and the conversation is always fun. You guys have a great rest of your week. Let's see you again soon.